Hello, community. I wanted to update you on some really kind of interesting news. I think it's getting a decent bit of coverage, certainly from Russia-Ukraine war watchers. Uh, Over the past several hours, there have been reports now picked up by media of a massive attack, a special operation conducted by the SBU, the Ukrainian intelligence service. Some of these things we see come out of the GRU, the military intelligence. This is SBU. They're both highly innovative. The operation consisted of planning for a year and a half and an execution where drones were smuggled into containers positioned next to bases and then simultaneously launched against multiple different Russian installations. So, Russian air bases all the way from kind of northern, western Ukraine, all the way out to it sounds like all the way out to Siberia and Irkutsk, which is pretty massive stretch of territory. I've traveled that part of the country, and it's seemingly in the middle of nowhere. Some attacks on naval installations. The Russian war bloggers are referring to this as a Russian Pearl Harbor, massive surprise attack taking out strategic assets. The SVU reports 40 different planes attacked. We're talking about somewhere on the order of magnitude of billions of dollars of equipment destroyed. What's interesting is the targets here. These are critical targets that Russia's been using for the Ukraine war effort. Strategic bombers, Tu 95s, these are long range bombers, and Tu 22s, medium range bombers that have been launching cruise missiles against Ukrainian cities for more than the last 3 years. They're The Ukrainians had in their possession in the 90s a number of these platforms that they inherited at the collapse of the Soviet Union. So, with some poetic justice, it's possible and frankly likely, based on the limited number of resources that the Russians have, that these were once Soviet, Ukrainian, and then Russian strategic and medium range bomber assets that were destroyed that were attacking Ukrainian cities. The numbers here are very, very meaningful. We're talking about a couple score of Tu 95s. These are ultra long range strategic bombers. This is what the Soviets developed to attack the US, traversing the high north, the Atlantic and Pacific to strike at US cities. There are not that many of these left. We're really talking about the ballpark of 40 to 50. And it looks like Ukraine knocked out, a half a dozen or more. We'll see what the final tally is. So this isn't just about what Ukraine has done to secure itself, reduce Russia's ability to conduct air attacks. It's also about NATO. The fact that this has significantly reduced the threat from Russia's air component of its nuclear triad to strike out at NATO, especially those Tu 22s, and the US with the Tu 95s. This is what I've been talking about for years. This is a war in which the Ukrainians are not just degrading Russia and Russia's conventional and strategic capabilities to defend itself, but also having a massive impact on our own security. The other aspects of this are interesting. There are a limited number of something called A50s. These are AWACS. These are strategic platforms. The GRU, the the Ukrainian intelligence service, believes that there are about a half a dozen of these still in place, still operating. These are what coordinate Russia's strikes, coordinate Russia's air defenses. They fly over and are command and control and advanced early warning synchronization assets that are very, very limited. And these are assets that the Russians cannot easily reproduce. It takes a long, long time to produce the modernized A50s, the Tu 95s. It doesn't produce them so as much as major refurbishments, complete overhauls that are required, and those take an enormous amount of time. The Tu 22s also an enormous amount of time to convert the 22s into the M3s, the most modernized variants. So uh, again, a really interesting, I'm reviewing my notes, a really interesting attack. What I'd say is that Ukraine continues to respond asymmetrically to Russia's strengths. Russia's advanced and large air force, its navy being or neutralized and pushed back, and really in a lot of ways being irrelevant, except for launching cruise missiles and strikes from a distance. Um, Highly innovative. This is also going to be a signal, just like we've seen over the course of the war, large innovations and transformations in how we now think about drone warfare as extremely significant, maybe even determinative. I think we have something similar shaping up here because you know it doesn't take a stretch to think about a foreign power um, smuggling drones into the United States, positioning them in a similar manner in containers, and conducting airstrikes against our strategic bombers that could neutralize a component of our nuclear triad, our extremely expensive Air Force and naval aviation assets, Navy. All these things are vulnerable. So we have a lot to learn from this war. It's critical that the U.S. continues to stay engaged with intelligence sharing. It's a two-way street. It's what we give to the Ukrainians so they could target and employ long-range assets. It's what we learn from them on how they conduct their war effort, so we can make sure that we're prepared for these dangerous courses of action. Really interesting development, and as things come out, I'll report more. But appreciate your listening in. Thanks.